to the TokyoBill Weekly Update, an end-of-week news brief on events in and around Japan. Today is October 26, 2024. The defense ministers of Japan, the UK, and Italy have agreed to expedite the joint development of a next-generation fighter jet. They announced the establishment of a trilateral government organization by the end of the year to oversee the production of the aircraft. This collaboration is part of the Global Combat Air Program to enhance cooperation in response to threats from China, Russia, and North Korea. The new stealth fighter jet will replace Japan's F-2s and Eurofighter Typhoons. The ministers discussed these plans at the Group of 7 defense ministers meeting in Naples, Italy. The USS George Washington is replacing the USS Ronald Reagan at Yokosuka Naval Base in Japan as the Navy's forward-deployed aircraft carrier. The George Washington departed from San Diego and is expected to arrive in Tokyo Bay later this fall. The carrier underwent nuclear refueling and overhaul before departing Norfolk Naval Base for San Diego. Carrier Air Wing 5 will accompany the George Washington to its home base in Japan. The ship previously served as the centerpiece of the 7th Fleet's Carrier Strike Group from 2008 to 2015. In Japan, the average price of newly harvested rice increased by nearly 50% in September compared to the previous year. This rise in price is due to higher production costs and increased market demand following a shortage. The Agriculture Ministry reported that all varieties of new rice sold by farming cooperatives to wholesalers averaged 22,700 yen for 60 kilograms, the highest price on record for September since 2006. The price increase was attributed to higher production costs and increased competition among customers. Digital wage payments have begun in Japan, with PayPay becoming the first to receive government approval under a cashless drive. 10 SoftBank Group Corporation companies, including PayPay Corporation, are now offering employees the option to receive up to 200,000 yen of their salary through the app. This move follows a decision by the Labor Ministry to allow digital wage payments from April 2023. PayPay aims to increase employee benefits and expand its economic sphere with over 65 million registered users. The system also includes safeguards such as a 1 million yen balance limit to protect users' funds. Scotland has appointed its first trade and investment envoy to Japan, Stephen Baker, to explore opportunities in Japan's decarbonization transition, pharmaceutical, medical technology, and food sectors. Baker, a former Sony executive, will work to strengthen the relationship between Japan and Scotland to boost trade and investment. The appointment aims to increase business opportunities with Japanese companies, such as Sumitomo's £350 million investment in a manufacturing plant in Nig, near Inverness, creating around 330 jobs over the next 10 years, with 265 expected in the Highlands and Islands regions. Missing German student Claudio Wurm was last seen in Wakayama Prefecture on October 10th, arriving in the area 2 weeks earlier. Reported by police this week, a woman found his smartphone October 12th on a bridge over the river, and 40 personal items, including his passport, were discovered in a nearby public washroom. Security camera footage shows a person resembling Wurm near Nankai Wakamayashi Station the previous evening. The 21-year-old student is described as blonde with a medium build, around 172 centimeters tall, wearing whitish pants and a black long-sleeved shirt, carrying a black backpack. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Wakayama Prefectural Police. A recent survey found that nearly half of companies in Japan have been pressured by clients to make employees apologize in a kowtowing, on their knees manner, with 70% reportedly complying. The survey by After Call Navi Corporation also revealed that many companies compromise this way to quickly resolve customer harassment incidents. Tokyo recently enacted an ordinance to prevent customer harassment, but challenges remain in determining what exactly constitutes harassment and ensuring effective enforcement. The survey highlighted the need for clearer standards and continual training for employees to respond consistently. Counterfeit items on resale apps, especially luxury brands, are a major concern. Online marketplaces like Rakuten Rakuma are using artificial intelligence to detect fake merchandise like handbags and watches. The AI system analyzes product images, materials, and seams to compare against known fakes. Flagged items are then inspected by staff. 400 brands now require this service. E-commerce giant Mercari also uses AI to check products with seller consent. The Finance Ministry reported over 30,000 seizures of imported counterfeit items last year, the second highest since 1987. A group of voice actors in Japan, including well-known figures like Koichi Yamadera and Yuki Kaji, are calling for regulations on the use of generative artificial intelligence to create audio and visual content mimicking their voices without permission. The Japan Actors Union has reported cases of AI-generated content being used without consent, including popular animation characters singing songs not part of the original works. The group of voice actors plans to release campaign videos to raise awareness and advocate for guidelines to establish boundaries between acceptable and unacceptable use of synthesized voices. A Japanese high court has ordered a new trial for Shoshi Maekawa, who was convicted of killing a junior high school girl in 1986. Maekawa, who has maintained his innocence, served 7 years in prison after being sentenced by a higher court. The ruling on Wednesday stated that witness accounts of Maekawa wearing blood-stained clothing were not credible, raising questions about the investigation's validity. Previous attempts at a retrial were overturned on appeal, but the latest ruling allows for a fresh examination of the case. The Tokyo International Film Festival, or TIFF, is evolving for its 37th edition, emphasizing international exchange, supporting new filmmakers, and highlighting female perspectives. The festival has moved to Tokyo's Hibiya-Ginza district, revamped its program, and collaborated with renowned filmmakers like Palme d'Or winner Hirokazu Koreeda. This year's festival will showcase 120 films with a focus on Asian cinema, as well as a women's empowerment section featuring films by female directors. Initiatives like the TIFF Teens program and masterclasses aim to nurture future talent. TIFF has secured funding through crowdfunding and aims to establish itself as a hub for the Asian film industry. In Malaysia, a Japanese tourist died and 12 others were injured when their tour bus collided with a truck. The incident occurred in Perak State while the bus was en route to the Cameron Highlands. The victims, all senior citizens from Japan, were taken to the hospital after the crash. The cause is under investigation. JTB Corporation, the travel agency involved, expressed condolences and is assisting with support for passengers and their families. The bus is reported as having met safety standards and was hired by a local operator. In Japan, more than 30,000 people died of COVID-19 in the first year after guidelines were lifted, exceeding deaths from influenza by 14 times. The majority of deaths were among those aged 65 and older. The government removed quarantine requirements for positive cases to normalize activities. Virology professor Hitoshi Oshitani emphasized the need to reduce deaths in an aging society. Financial support for COVID-19 treatment ended in April. New variants continue to be a concern, with deaths decreasing in 2023 due to vaccination and immunity. Oshitani urged the government to provide financial aid for testing and vaccination for the elderly. In related news, The Japanese government's Board of Audit has found that about $3.1 billion of the $9.45 billion in interest-free loans provided to households during the coronavirus pandemic is unrecoverable. The loans were more lenient in criteria compared to existing low-interest loans, with no plan for financial independence required. While repayments began in January 2023, deferrals have occurred due to reasons such as unemployment and delinquencies. The Welfare Ministry has received 140,000 repayment waiver applications as of August 2024 and plans to begin repayment for $2 billion worth of loans in January. The first shipment of Beaujolais Nouveau wine from France arrived in Tokyo and Osaka. Importer Suntory received 2,640 bottles at Haneda Airport. More shipments are expected at airports across Japan in the coming weeks. The first bottle will be uncorked at midnight on November 21st and will be sold for 3,256 yen, or roughly $25 US. Japan traditionally celebrates the arrival of Beaujolais Nouveau ahead of other countries, hosting midnight parties. Suntory plans to import 457,000 bottles this year, a 17% increase from the previous year. The record for sales in Japan was in 2004 with 12.5 million bottles. Although not really considered high class due to artificial flavorings and cheap alcohol, canned cocktails have been around in Japan for years. However, Suntory is releasing what they call a premium canned highball featuring their prized single malt Yamazaki whiskey. Yamazaki whiskey is known for its deep flavor and has been popularized due to its association with whiskey highballs. With a richer flavor, 9% alcohol content, and a price of 600 yen, this premium highball is stronger and more expensive than typical canned cocktails in Japan. That brings us to the end of news items for the week ending October 26th. These stories and more you can read at theTokyoBill.com. I've been, and remain, Tokyo Bill. Thank you for listening, and take care.